Wednesday night, and that means it's time for the Lamar Thomas Show, featuring the greatest receiver in the history of college football. Just ask them, Lamar Thomas.
I was born in Ocala, Florida. I moved to Gainesville to go to high school. Been recruited probably since the 9th grade, illegally, I might add, by the University of Florida. I still can remember Coach Solinger, Don Solinger, coming out to our practice one day. Here it is, this guy comes out in the University of Miami jacket, and I said, I can't believe that's Miami out here. And, you know, I wanted to go up and say, hey, I'm Lamar Thomas. And actually, I did walk up to him and I said, hey, Coach, I'm Lamar Thomas. And he said, I know. And that was the start of my relationship with the University of Miami.
Another good block, and Toretto lays it out. Touchdown, Miami.
You come down here, you'll be on TV every weekend, dominating. I thought about it. I said, man, where do I sign? My mom, on Saturday mornings, I would wake up and she'd be holding my hand. I thought she was the weirdest lady in the world. But she was holding my hands and she would be rubbing them and saying, one day these hands are gonna make you a lot of money. She was smart.
So now, here he is, the great one, along with co-host Gary Ferman of CaneSport.com, Lamar Thomas.
There he is. Lamar Thomas himself.
Excited, Gary. Come on,
Yep.
we undefeated, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I know you guys all out there are excited too. We welcome you once again to the Lamar Thomas Show. And the Canes are getting ready to go to Lamar's old stomping grounds this week. Dale Mabry, Raymond James Stadium. Lamar is legendary on Dale Mabry and at Raymond James Stadium. And he will be there in person himself this Saturday night because he is a good luck charm for the 2024 edition of the Miami Hurricanes. They have not lost this year in Lamar's presence. LT, how you doing tonight?
I like that introduction. It had a lot of truth to it.
I practiced that all day, LT.
I mean, except you didn't. You said Raymond James. Obviously, that's the stadium they're playing in. But it was the big sombrero when I roamed the streets of Tampa. But yeah, that was some. I don't want to say fun times, but it was interesting. It was a very interesting time.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
That was before. That was even before USF football. How about that?
Well, now we have another series with South Florida. This is a home and home I like. Like, to me, this is the type of home and home Miami should schedule. I like this much more than playing FAMU and Bethune. I know South Florida's a little bit higher degree of difficulty, but you got to be up to the task. You have to, you have to be able to compete at this level. And LT, I know you were out at practice earlier today. And what you found was a football team that is engaged in the battle this week. Okay. This isn't like a mail it in score kind of game like they've played the last 2 weeks. They are out there engaged. They have to game plan. They have to spend extra time doing film study. They have to take this game at a level of seriousness worthy of a competitive opponent. And to me, LT, this is the only way that you can improve as a football team and get to the place where this team wants to be by December.
Well, I got to tell you this, Gary. I like the way the schedule is set up so far because, obviously we played, I'm going to go ahead and say we played a weak Florida team, which, coming into it, expectations were probably high for them. and we played a Florida A&M, we played a Ball State, now we play a USF, who I think is definitely better than a Ball State team. But I like that because we got some young guys, a lot of playing time, and we might even see some of those young guys against the USF. Hopefully later in the game when if we're blowing them out. But I just like the way it's set up. I think USF is going to be a different style challenge, especially on the offensive side for them, going against our defense. The way they run their offense, very fast pace. Don't give you time to dial up any elaborate blitzes. You have to kind of play vanilla, but you also have to be basic and make tackles and definitely stay within the scheme of the defense. So this is a good matchup for the University of Miami so far coming into this 2024 season.
Tonight's show is presented, as always, by CaneSwear. You see CaneSwear in the background behind Lamar and myself. Without question, your ultimate destination for all of your Canes merchandise needs. No, they don't have Lamar Thomas jerseys anymore, but you can get a Cam Ward jersey.
You can get a basketball Cam Ward jersey. You can get a baseball Cam Ward jersey. You can get a Fletcher jersey. You can get, wait, here's a baseball Cam Ward jersey. I didn't know Cam Ward played baseball, but hell, if he's a Heisman Trophy candidate, hell, he played everything. He played all kinds of
Cam Ward plays everything.
Everything. Right, and my favorite shirt of the week.
That's awesome. Back in the day, we used to have a CaneSport store. We used to sell shirts like that. That's I like that one. That's a good one. But CaneSwear is without question the place for you to go to get all your Miami Hurricanes merchandise. They have a little bit of everything for any member of your family. Talking t-shirts, shirts, these polos, hoodies, hats, flags, decals, etc., etc., etc. All sizes for men, women, kids. You got a pet at home? They will even dress your pet. And your pet's got to be flashing the U as well, no doubt about it. So 2655 South University Drive in Davie. That's where Lamar is right now. And you can always shop CaneSwear at caneswear.com. So urge you to check them out. We'll talk more about CaneSwear later in the show. But we thank them for being the presenting sponsor of the Lamar Thomas Show this season. And can't encourage you guys enough to go get all your Canes gear from CaneSwear. All right, LP, we got so much on the docket tonight. So many things to talk about. But we would be remiss if we didn't start with the 35-year reunion of the 1989 national championship team that was held at Hard Rock this weekend. I know you guys got together on Friday night. I saw Coach Erickson. He was so excited to be running out into the stadium. What's he like? 80? How old is Dan now?
He's he told me he was 42 the other day.
He was like jogging out there, throwing his arms around. Was very fired up to be back in front of the Cane faithful. Tell us a little bit about reunion weekend for the 1989 national champion Miami Hurricanes.
Well, first of all, Jessica Green and Rick Remmert did an awesome job getting this together to get those guys the 35th year of this 1989 national championship and getting Coach Erickson to come back and some of the staff members, not just football wise, but staff members in the whole athletic department. You know, it was a lot of guys, a lot of people that were there that received rings from that 89 championship. So it was an awesome experience. We got to come together on Friday night in that new alumni building that's across the street from the baseball stadium. Great place, great venue. It was awesome. We had guys get up to speak. Everybody was like, why didn't you get up to speak? Well, I was a young guy then, and those guys tortured the hell out of me. And so it was fun to see those guys. You know, you had the Conscience, Russell Maryland, that's what we call him, the Conscience. He was there, and a lot of players. I mean, Jesse Armstead took time out of his schedule, being a VP with the Giants, to come down. Michael Barrow was there. Wesley Carroll, Dale Dawkins, Randy Belt. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Just great memories to be there, and obviously to see Coach Harrison. He brought Ryan with him, his son. It was awesome, an awesome experience. And going on to the game, obviously there was a rain delay, so we got a lot of time to catch up and talk smack and talk about the old days. And it just reminded me of why I love being a Hurricane. Put it that way. It was just this why we went to school there, the brotherhood, and it was definitely on full display. All of us being together, and a great, again, giving kudos to the athletic department at the University of Miami for putting that on with Jessica and Rick Rimmer. They did an awesome job, and we appreciate it. Can't wait for 2 more years to the 91 35-year reunion.
You mentioned Jesse Armstead, and I got a kick out of it. He snuck away. I don't know if you even noticed he was missing. But when the pregame warm-up started, he snuck away from you guys and came out on the field. He was standing there on the sideline, eyeballing all the talent. He decided to put his scouting hat on for the New York Giants at that moment. And he was checking it out pretty good. He
didn't snake away from me. I was with him.
I didn't see you.
I was down there. I saw you, Gary.
Oh, okay. You didn't say hello.
You were way on the other side, man. You were by the tunnel. You were way on the other side. I saw you.
You could have said hello. But I saw Jesse down there, and he was checking out all the talent so he could take it back to his scouts up at the Giants. But it's always great to see you guys get back together. How's Coach Erickson doing these days?
He's doing well. I mean, I know for a while his wife was sick, Marilyn. So he's making it. He's still two-fisting those Bud Lights, so I know he's in good spirits. That's the most important thing about Coach E. You got to have Bud Lights for my guy, and he will two-fist them. And as long as he has a designated driver, he is happy as hell.
He's as good. He's good to go. All right. Well, you got everybody. I'm glad everybody got to see a great Hurricane performance. 62-0, a school record, 750 yards of offense. It was classy. The opponent wasn't great. I don't know who's better, Ball State or FAMU. I can't really say. I mean, I would say Ball State might be a little bit better, but it was a classy performance, start to finish. Emry Williams comes in the game and goes 11 for 12. You had, I think I forget the final number. I think it was something like 11 different receivers involved in the game, catching passes. Just a phenomenal day for the offense. And then, of course, the defense pitches a shutout. So LT, now it's going to get a little bit more serious. We don't know how good Cal's going to be. We don't know how good South Florida is really going to be. We know they played Alabama. I know Alabama made some mistakes, but they played Alabama neck and neck for 3 quarters up there in Tuscaloosa. And those are going to be followed by, Louisville and an FSU team that
Cal.
Oh, did I thought I said Cal. I'm sorry. Cal for sure. Yeah. And then Louisville and an FSU team that the pro scouts that I talked to are still mystified by, and even Nick Saban, when he went out to their practice before the season, and when the pro scouts were out there in fall camp, they literally thought they were looking at a top 10 team. I mean, they do have talent on that Florida State roster, but it has not come together. They have been horrific in the early stages of the season. They're 0-3, and now they got Cal coming in to Doak Campbell Stadium this weekend. So, don't really know what we're going to get out of Florida State.
And Gary, I can tell you this. I talked to Luther Campbell, I think it was last week, and he said Nobel had come down to watch one of his players. So he asked him, he said, "Man, what's going on up there?" And he said, I can't tell you, because what I see on the practice field is kind of what you just said. What I've seen on the practice field doesn't translate to what they're doing on the field. Not at all. And so, it's just a bad deal going on right there. You paid a lot of people a lot of money, and you're not getting a good return on it. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this works out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a few things, but we're not going to go too hard on the Florida State topic tonight. We'll get there a few weeks down the road, but yeah, a lot going on in Tallahassee. But let me take the moment right now. Let's bring in our young partner in crime, the guy that adds a little youth to the show. IC Izubee Charles, and how you doing this week, IC?
Feeling good. I brought my prop. I got our little handkerchief. We're running with the Bulls this weekend. Ole, ole. Going up to Tampa. I'm bringing this with me to Tampa for good luck. Ready to run all over those Bulls, but I'm ready, man. Excited to go to Tampa. Excited to watch this team hopefully go 4-0, which I think they'll do. And easy.
Okay, let me give you a little words of advice. Don't spend too much time on Del Mabry, okay?
I'll stay clear.
Yeah, trust me on that. Get to the stadium and then get to the airport or wherever you're going, but don't spend too much time on Del Mabry. It could be pretty bad for a young guy. Well, I won't say bad, but we'll talk about it later.
And the cameras aren't rolling.
Yes.
So I see you've taken a little bit of a look at South Florida as part of our lead-in coverage at CaneSport.com. What do you think, man? Like, you know, I kind of have mixed feelings about this. You know, I think that they do enough things when you look at the quarterback and his ability to hurt you running the football and throwing it, the pace that they play with on offense. Up tempo gave Miami a lot of problems a year ago. We're going to see how much progress Lance Guidry has made in scheming it up against that type of offense, because they go fast and they try to make you stay on the field and get tired. So you know, they're going to create some issues for the Miami defense for sure. And then on defense, they come after the quarterback quite a bit. I mean, they force a lot of turnovers. They also give up a lot of yards. But what do you see coming up on Saturday at Raymond James Stadium?
Yeah, I kind of have mixed emotions with this too, because kind of earlier in the week, you know, after the Alabama game, I was kind of like, man, this USF game is going to be really good. They're going to give, you know, Miami the best run for their money this season. But it's going to sound weird, but the more I watch them, the more I'm like, man, Miami can really give it to these guys. You know, one thing Steven and I talked about a little bit, we kind of said, hey, they kind of play up to their competition, but they also kind of play down to their competition too. When they were at Southern Miss, they were down 14-0 in the first quarter. They were looking awful. You know, they're kind of a hot and cold team. And I'm just thinking, if Miami comes out, floors on them early, this game can be over by the third quarter. Obviously, Byron Brown's a good quarterback. But the one thing with him, he's not very accurate. He's throwing about 56% right now. And Coach Guidry said it. We're going to try to make them one-dimensional. I feel like if Miami shuts down that run game, which they do have a really good run game, two really good backs, Nyquan Wright used to play at University of Florida, the number 8, real speedster, get out and make some moves. But they can shut that down and force Byron Brown to throw. I think this game could be over, like I said, before third quarter. Defensively, I was watching the Alabama game too, and if Alabama's right tackle number 75 almost single-handedly lost them that game, I thought he was shaving points, how he was letting those rushers get in the backfield. I was like, wow. So I was like, Francis Mauigoa, please, because they do have a good edge rusher, number 4, Vaughn. He's from Miami, Palmetto High School, good guy. And like you said, Gary, they bring a lot of heat, they bring pressure, but I feel like if Miami gets that pass protection right, which they've been really, really good at this year, I think Cam Ward picks apart that secondary. And Miami has a good day in Tampa, running with the Bulls with their little handkerchiefs, yelling "Ole" the whole time.
Hey, and by the way, you talked about the D line. We'd be remiss to not mention Kevin Patrick is the D line coach.
Oh wow,
he's the defensive line coach at USF, and obviously their co-coordinator. Last name is Harris, Ice Harris Jr.
Really?
Yeah. So there's some. No, he's at UCF. Yeah, he's at UCF. I'm sorry about that. But Kevin Patrick is at USF, and he does a great job with the D line. But I don't think they have a lot of depth on that D line. And I think
I see. Just for the record, since Lamar just screwed it up himself.
Yes.
He called me up this afternoon. He's like, "You have video of IC at that Shannon Dawson press conference earlier this week. I want to give him a hard time because he asked Shannon Dawson about UCF. Cue up that video. I'm like, no, Lamar, come on. This is our young protege that, you know, we're trying to build his confidence and, you know, and all that. I don't want to embarrass him like that on the Lamar Thomas show. Like, we can let that one go. And then, of course, he does it himself right now.
I do this. I meant to, and thank you, Dolphin Derek. I meant to say about DVD being there, but I don't know, somehow in my head I got Harris in there. So yeah, they have DVDs there as a defensive back coach, and he's a Miami guy. There are some Miami ties, and there are some kids from South Florida up there. So again, this is an in-state rival. The rivalry, I do remember USF winning one of Randy Shannon's, maybe his last game at Miami, if I'm not mistaken. And I just remember them flying the thing overhead. So that's pretty bad memories of the USF game. So we're going to have to go there and take care of business so we can get that out the way quick.
Take care of business. Kane's Cat, he says, belt to ass in Tampa this week. How about that?
I gotta say something funny. During the press conferences, the USF player from Miami, he's like, man, before all my Pop Warner games, I used to watch the 30 for 30 to get me hyped up, man. I'm so familiar with the Canes, the greats. I was like, man, this is gonna be funny if things happen the way they happen. But I thought that was pretty cool. USF kid kind of saying he's watching the Miami Hurricane 30 for 30 before a game.
LT, you have an Aunt Peggy?
Yes, I do.
Oh, wow. Theodore Bryant says your Aunt Peggy told me to check out your show.
Yes, my Aunt Peggy. She's about 70 years old, but you can't tell her that. She thinks she's 35.
Good old Aunt Peggy. All right. So, LT, 750 yards of offense, but it's against Ball State. That's a lot of offense, though. Like, should we be excited about that, or should we just be shrugging it off? There was no competition.
Well, I'm more excited about the guys getting an opportunity. I mean, hell, we found out we had, again, this whole year, we found out we have tight ends now. And they utilize the tight ends. The running back room is filled. I mean, and the O-line was playing pretty good. Obviously, we can talk all we want about our quarterback, but I love the fact that, during that game, I got to see a lot of young guys. Like we talked about last week, I wanted to see young guys getting their opportunity to excel, and they did that. I mean, and the thing I really love about that game, there weren't too many dumb penalties. That's what could have really screwed us as far as, Mario's down there preaching, he's preaching for guys to do it the right way. And so far this year, we've kind of stayed away from the dumb penalties that kind of harmed us and kind of hurt us the last 2 years. So he's teaching discipline, and the kids are buying in, and I like what I see.
Cam Ward, we expect to do great. Emry Williams gets in the game in the second half, and we didn't really know what to expect. They let him go almost the full 2 quarters. Cam started the third quarter, and you've been to practice. We've been to practice, and I've seen the level that Emry Williams is practicing at, and I've been saying all along, like, if it ever came down to it, and they had to pick one to God forbid anything ever happened to Cam, I really thought that Emry Williams would get the call in that situation. Well, now I believe that on steroids. Okay, because I see you nodding your head. Emry Williams looked like the man out there in the second half. I mean, he was accurate, 11 for 12. He had 161 yards passing in that second half, when they really were, featuring the running game, quite frankly. I mean, they weren't really featuring the pass. If they threw the ball in the second half the way they threw in the first half, he certainly would have had well over 200. But he was on point with everything. His reads were right. That's a good sign for Miami, I think, going forward.
I thought that was a great sign. And even when he got in, I think for the first drive or two in the third quarter, he was running with all the one wide receivers and the one offensive line. I thought that was amazing. And then when the twos came in, they didn't lose, anything. They kept going. They kept applying that pressure. And, not to say anything about Offenbar, obviously, when he came in against FAMU with the twos, things kind of looked a little bit shaky. We're like, all right. But when, Emry came in, the ball just kept rolling. He had that super, super nice touchdown to Elijah Lofton, who I think is amazing. Gary, I used to call him the bull in the China shop during the spring, because he would just mess up everything, one-handed catch, do other crazy stuff. But I really love what I saw from Emry. And, like you mentioned, God forbid anything bad happens with Cam, I think Emery's a guy you have to roll with there. Even, I think he solidified himself as QB2 if there was any questions kind of floating in the air. Emry Williams is 100% QB2 at Miami.
Yeah, and it sucks for Reese, Poppenbarger. I mean, he came here with very good intentions. They brought him here to compete with Emry to be the number one quarterback. Didn't really know. He got very well compensated, no question. But now he probably is potentially facing a situation where he's got to go back into the portal and give it one more shot, maybe somewhere else. I don't even know if he sticks around for spring practice to compete. I really don't. It's going to be interesting to see what decision he makes at the end of the semester in terms of his future. If the season continues to go the way that it's going. But they did certainly, before we saw Emry do his thing, they did their part in taking care of the Cam Ward Heisman Trophy candidacy parade. Okay, they threw the ball 28 times in the first half. Lamar, I don't know if I've ever seen a slower secondary than what Ball State had out on the field the other day. I mean, you look up slow in the dictionary, and you're going to see Ball State's defensive backfield. I mean, our receivers were so wide open that you couldn't help but put up big numbers. But we threw the ball 28 times in the first half. They gave Cam the first series of the third quarter and then got him out of there this week. I guess they listened to our show from last week where we were begging and pleading, please, Mario, don't go too deep into the second half with Cam Ward. We got to try to make sure he stays healthy. But he is now the consensus front runner for the Heisman Trophy. And, I think it's great. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's great also. This is some uncharted waters. We haven't been here in a while, so to see him get this national pub, see this program get the national pub, being back to relevancy. And then I think we're going beyond that. We continue to win games. I say we get to that ACC championship and beyond, but I think it's a great thing. I think here's a kid that bet on himself and, he rose through the ranks and now he is the number one quarterback up there he's put his name on the list, at least for the Heisman and probably, a potential lottery pick. We'll see.
And his receivers are stepping up for him. Okay, we're watching these guys week after week. The consistency is there. Kobi George, Lamar, let's start with him. I thought he looked really fast on Saturday. Now, a part of that could be how slow the other guys were, but at least optically, he seemed to be playing at a higher gear than maybe. We've probably seen it before. I don't want to exaggerate here, but I thought Kobi George looked pretty good the other day.
I like his demeanor this year. I like the fact that he realized that he made some big plays last year, but he made some dumb mistakes. And he seems to be a different kid this year. And every time I talk to him, he's very positive. He's embracing the leadership type role when before he didn't want any parts of it. But I think he's embracing it and understanding that there are guys behind you that are pretty good now. So you have to come to practice every day and try to get better because it will make you better. And when I talk to him, I'm just night and day from last year. Like he's very engaging now. I think he's very happy. And when you're doing the right thing, that's what usually happens. Good things happen.
Now, another guy that we've talked a lot about the last few weeks is Sam Brown, and world of potential. Did some really good things at Houston. Did some not so good things at Houston too, and that's why he's here. Was not ready to go to National Football League, and came to Miami to improve his resume. And he got here late. Okay, he didn't get here until the summertime. And Cam Ward had already built up a bond with Kobi George and Restrepo and Isaiah Horton. And now, Sam Brown almost came in here kind of like, I don't want to be too harsh, but it's almost like an outsider, like who's this kid showing up now, at the Sofer Indoor. And I think it's taking him a little bit of time to get going here. But the thing I noticed in this last game was the coaches were trying to get him going. Like they understand that they brought him here for a reason. And, they've got other guys, obviously, George, Restrepo, Horton, all playing very well, but they don't want Sam Brown clearly to be a forgotten man. He got 8 targets last week, LT, and 5 of them were catches for 44 yards. And those stats aren't blowing anybody away by any stretch of the imagination. But I walked out of there on Saturday night thinking it was really important to get Sam Brown involved in the game the way they did this past week.
Yeah, and I think it's going to continue. I think, just talking to him, and I think he understands that this is going to be a long season. And, obviously, he's building that rapport now with Cam. I mean, every time I've been down there, they've been working after practice, and that's very refreshing to see. The guys being out there with Strepo, number 3, all those guys staying after practice, working on things. It's a night and day from what it was, and so he's trying to build that rapport with them. I think that he's understanding, things are going to come. You just got to continue to do what you're supposed to do, and they will happen. And I enjoy talking. I enjoy talking to all of them. Horton is another kid. Man, he's night and day. It's almost like he's a sponge. He's like getting better every time you see him. He's getting better. It's some things he needs to continue to improve on, like coming off the ball, putting pressure on the DBs. But just him being able to be a big target that can make plays only brings added depth to that receiver core, and you can't single cover those guys, not with that type of quarterback.
I see you and I have talked a lot about Horton in recent weeks, and it's noticeable how much better of a player he was than a year ago. Might be the most improved player on the team, but at least from what the scuttlebutt that we had heard, him and his camp were not overwhelmed by this late add into the receiver room in Sam Brown. I mean, let's be honest, like these guys have a different, have a similar style of football. I mean, they're both about the same size ballpark. They both play on the outside. They are essentially competing with each other for reps. But to Horton's credit, I think he's taken the challenge. And he's having a great season, and now the onus is on Sam Brown to get himself going. I mean, he's not having the impact and the stats for sure that he thought he was going to have when he came to Miami, but he's got to start making the most of his opportunities, and that stuff I think will come. I guess to sum it up, the competition between the two of those guys should ultimately, LT, be a positive.
Well, it's just not those two guys. I mean, you got a bunch of guys out there, man. I'm like looking at these guys today and like, who's that again? Who's that again? I only know them by their numbers. There's numbers. I know Ray is number what? 5, was he number 5? And then the other kid from Chaminade is number 0. Yeah. He's doing some great things out there in practice. Number 19 was making plays today. Number 83. I mean, they got some guys now. And the great thing about it is that last year it was just 1 or 2 guys. It was either you throw it to 3 or you throw it to Restrepo, and and no tight ends being thrown to. But this year there's so many weapons out there. There's so many guys making plays. Just like you mentioned earlier, number 9, what's his name again? Lofton. He's got a weird body. But man, he ran that wheel route. He's thick. I mean, he's a thick dude, but he could. Yeah. But he also showed he can run.
But he is
no wonder he played all kind of positions, during the spring.
Yeah. Now, that's a whole nother can of worms. You got a kid with that kind of talent. He's a true freshman. You got to keep him happy, man. Like that kid has like serious talent. And you could build an offense around that kid if you needed to. Like he can do a lot of things and can play in a lot of places, and you can match him up against linebackers. And but there's not enough. Like there's so many guys this year, LT.
Unfortunately for staffs of college football in this day and age, you not only have to be a coach, you have to be a mentor, but you also have to be a psychologist, I guess, because you gotta talk to these guys every day to keep them happy.
Yes.
You got to feed them, on and off the field. I mean, just being around, seeing how Mario has done a great job putting a support staff together, and you see these guys talking to each and every player, all the time, encouraging guys, and it's very important because even though you're winning, we all have been there where you've seen guys that just get that sour face and it becomes contagious. And once if something goes bad, it's like not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's grown. And so Mario putting that staff together with all those support people, it's a lot of people. And they are digging into those kids, making sure that no kid is left behind. I mean, they got their arms around them, and I applaud that because that it's more to the coaching than just what you see on that field.
It's Mario's biggest job this year. Yes. I mean, honestly, he doesn't have to worry about calling plays and things like that. Recruiting is in a good spot. They've got the class. It's almost entirely full. I mean, they've got about 10, 11 guys they're still chasing. They would love to sign a few of them, but the thick of the work in recruiting has been done. Mario's job now is to keep this team together and keep his difference-making players in a good spot mentally, because everyone's not going to, be able to contribute the way that maybe they thought they would, or in the case of the transfers, what they came here to do. Look at Damian Martinez, the running back, is a great example. His season's barely begun. I mean, he had some nice plays in the Gator game, but really hasn't done a ton the last couple of weeks. I mean, so maybe he gets off this week, because if you're the coach, if you're Shannon Dawson, if you're sitting there thinking like, I got to get Martinez going a little bit here. And so that could be a focal point this week. But you mentioned Restrepo, and I knew you would, because how can we talk receivers without talking about Restrepo? And I just happened to do a little homework, little homework here on Restrepo, and that I wanted to talk to you about. So we're talking about all the guys that are commanding the ball. Last year, Restrepo was Tyler Van Dyke's go-to guy. There's no question about it. He had 119 targets in 13 games. That's 9.2 targets a game last year. Okay? That's a lot of targets, right, LT? He had 29% of all the targets in the passing game last year. Okay, now let's fast forward to this season. You got all these guys, okay, that are commanding the football. He has 18 targets through 3 games. So that's averaging 6 targets a game instead of 9.2. Okay. His targets, they're not quite cut in half, but they're cut at least in a third. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like he's not getting the number of targets so far this year that he got a year ago. And instead of 29% of all targets in the offense, he's getting 17% of the targets. And listen, this offense has grown up, but it's very interesting when you look at it from the Restrepo point of view, because I think those numbers really show us that there really are a lot of guys that are commanding the ball, and it's being spread around this year.
But one of the things I could say about Restrepo, he's also taking advantage of the opportunities. He's had some touchdowns. He's had some big plays. Before they were throwing all these little bubble passes and all these little screen passes. You get 3-4 yards here and there, but it's been more of downfield, making plays, running great routes, catching guys. I mean, the corner route that the quarterback threw to Restrepo, he hit him right out of when he hit that indicator foot to break to the corner. I mean, he fired it out there. That was a beautiful route for the touchdown. I mean, they've been practicing them. I watched those guys after practice, man. They practice those routes. They literally are on the page with each other. And again, he might not get the ball as much as he got it last year, but he's getting it and he's making the most of it. And that's important, because if he only catching 3 balls or maybe 4 balls, 2 of them are touchdowns or big first downs. So I'll take that any day.
So the receivers they're all getting their opportunity to do things. And I'm sure I talk about Sam Brown. I think he's one guy that I think has so much more to offer, that he could bring so much more to the table than he has, and didn't have the greatest Gator game, missed a few opportunities there. I think they will continue to try to feed, get him involved and start getting him producing bigger numbers. Kobi George is doing it. Restrepo's doing it. And Horton's doing it. And now it's Sam Brown's turn to get his game going as they get into the meat of the schedule. But this week is kind of an interesting dynamic, because I think LT, actually, let me give this one to you, since you've looked at South Florida so much. They play at such a tempo that on offense, they're going to be wearing the defense out at times. Okay. And the defense needs to rest. Okay. And I don't know that coming out freewheeling with the passing game, even though they gave up an enormous amount of yards last week to Southern Miss, 397 passing yards, 472 total yards. This is a defense that Miami can do things against, but it might be in Miami's interest in this game, because of the way they play offense, to start out the game at least and try to get that running game going a little bit. And that's where Damian Martinez might come in. They have to be looking to get him going as well. I'm expecting to see a lot of Damian Martinez in the first half on Saturday night. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea to come out, kind of play bully ball, kind of what they did against Florida. You remember, I think it was the second or third play of the game, that offensive line, drove that Gator D-line back about 5 or 6 yards. I think they need to come out, kind of punch these guys in the mouth, let them know, hey, we're not coming here to play around. We're coming here to get this win, go back to the real South Florida. But as I was watching this USF defense, I kind of think their aggressiveness sometimes gets a little ahead of themselves and gets them in trouble a little bit. A few things that I saw when I was watching that film against Southern Miss. Southern Miss had 2 or 3 really, really big screen plays. And we know Miami loves to do that tunnel screen where they bring out the center, have him kind of leading for the wide receivers and the other guys block. And I think, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I think that play is going to be like the bread and butter. I think Miami runs that 3 or 4 times. They probably score on it once or twice with that play, because USF's defense is so aggressive. I mean, that's one of their things. They're aggressive defense. They're looking to create turnovers. But sometimes I feel like that gives them trouble. You're kind of wandering around. You're in the backfield, and you see no offensive lineman, and they're running downfield with the wide receiver. But I do really do want to see. I thought last week we'd see a lot of Damian Martinez. He only had 3 carries. We don't really know what's going on there. But I do think this week they need to come out, establish that dominance in the trenches, and then start having fun on the outside, getting fancy with those tunnel screens and different route concepts that Shannon Dawson's cooking up for the Canes. He said it a few times, said, hey, we're only about 5 or 10% into our playbook. Obviously, I don't think they need to dive deep in the bag and pull out the crazy stuff right now. But hey, give us a little bit more something and kind of show off this offense, head into Virginia Tech. Not too much, but a little bit more something there.
So LT, we've given you all the cliff notes. Dolph Van Derek, he wants to know which offensive player will have a breakout game this Saturday.
Oh man, well, I tell you, it all starts with Cam Ward. It starts with him, and whoever the extension he goes to. I would love to see kind of what you said. I want to see him come out and establish that run and play bully ball, and then you're able to get those guys in the box. And now we're able to catch some one-on-one with our good receivers out there. That would be an excellent game plan if it happened that way. But I want to see that run game get going, because I think that what that will do is when you're scouting a team like that and you see they're dominating playing bully ball, you got to prepare for it. And it'll give those other teams something to prepare for. I would love to see all those backs have breakout games. I want to see Fletcher get in there. I want to see they got so many.
Jordan Lyle.
You got AJ, 28, and you got Chris Johnson. I want to see all of them get in there and do their thing. Obviously, we definitely want a quarterback to throw the ball around the yard a little bit, but we also want to get this win, and we also want to do it in a convincing fashion where we set up for the rest of the season and let teams know that we can run the ball down your throat.
We just named all the running backs, and we were talking about how receivers are a little crowded. What about the running back room? Did you see the way AJ Allen was competing and playing in the fourth quarter? Do you think he earned a few reps this week at a more significant time of the game? But has Mark Fletcher done anything to disappoint anybody? He looks quicker and better, even coming off injury than he looked a year ago. Jordan Lyle, I mean, he reminds us of a young Clinton Portis, really, kind of. I mean, the way he's come in as a true freshman, and then of course Martinez we've talked about. There aren't enough footballs to go around for these running backs either, Lamar, especially if we're going to be trying to win Cam Ward the Heisman. Okay. And then we got the receivers that all deserve to eat a little bit.
And don't forget about the tight ends. We have tight ends now.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, we have tight ends now. Forgetting guys.
You've been a coach. Talk to like, what do they do? Like we could talk about Sam Brandon Martinez needing to get off, but I mean, what is Mario and Dawson and these position coaches? What do they do?
Well, again, it goes back to depth, man. You got depth now. So if one guy's not on, you go to the next guy. I mean, this reminds me of the old days, because that's why we won championships, because the next man up was almost as better than the first man up, so it's getting there. And that's what Mario talked about building, to bringing in guys where, you got 3-4 deep and they're just as good as 1 and 2. The 3 and 4 is just as good. They can't wait to get in there. And that once they get in there, 1 and 2 are like, oh man, I got to step up my game. So it's making the team better from the inside out. This is beautiful to watch, man. And if it continues, I mean, we're hoping it continues this week against USF, South Florida. And I mean, it's going to be hard for a defensive coordinator to really try to figure out what he's going to do against the University of Miami Hurricanes.
This is what you were asking for, LT. Can I talk about the conversation you had with Mario 2.5 years ago when he got here?
Yeah. I just told him, hey, you're 3 to 4 years away from competing for a national championship, because we won national championships because of depth. And he just looked at me and shook his head. That's why we won. It wasn't the guy that was starting. It was the guys behind him that pushed the guys that were starting to make them better. And they couldn't wait to get in the game. And for guys like Coach Erickson, Jimmy Johnson, Larry Coker, they were drooling. I mean, hell, when you got situations like that where you got guys that are on the bench that are almost as better than the first guy, you can lay your head on the pillow really well, and enjoy your sleep. So this is he's built something, and it's continuing to build. We have to make sure, and we talked about that. We need to talk about that O-line too. We need to make sure those guys stay healthy, because they are the key to this whole thing, the running game and passing game. If they continue to stay healthy and play well, the sky's the limit for the Miami Hurricanes offense.
No doubt. Well, he, and I'm going to capitalize the he with an H, is in the building, and he knows what I'm talking about. But first, we got to hear from our friends at CaneSport.
Welcome to CaneSport.
New store, new items, same great experience. Family owned and operated since 2010, CaneSport has the latest merchandise from the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, Inter Miami CF, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of 595, or online at caneswear.com. CaneSport, the spot Miami fans shop.
The spot where Miami fans shop has everything you could possibly want. Cane related. You see the store in the background behind Lamar and myself tonight. That's a Restrepo jersey. What's that? A Restrepo shirt?
Yeah, Restrepo has a shirt.
Wow, I like that. That's a nice one. I like this age of NIL. But yeah, I mean, cool stuff like that, and anything you could possibly want to show off your fandom for the Canes, you can get at CaneSport, which is located at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, or at caneswear.com. Hats, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, flags. I mean, anything that you could think of, they probably have in that store that you see behind us tonight, and all sizes, men, women, kids, even pets. They can dress anybody you want, or any pet or animal that you have. they will find something for them to wear at Canes Wear. So get on over to the store. It's at 2655 South University Drive in Davie. Their website obviously is open 24 hours a day at caneswear.com. It's more than a store. You go to Canes Wear, you get a full experience. So make sure you check them out very, very soon for all your Miami Hurricanes merchandise needs. All right. We are now going to bring in a guy that, man, I'll tell you, I love this guy. He is one of the most awesome human beings that you will ever meet in your life. He's a former teammate of Lamar's. They won 2 national titles together. He had a great career in the National Football League, and that is Mr. Darrin Smith. What's up, Darrin?
Hey,
welcome to the LT Show.
All right, what's up, fellas?
How you doing, Darrin? You doing all right? Coach Smith.
Yeah.
How are you adjusting to that, being a coach now?
Man, I love it, man. Growing up here in Miami, coaches were a very big part of my life. I lost my dad when I was young. And so the men who kind of took that place for me were my coaches, starting in Little League. They were very impactful in my life. Those were the guys who encouraged me, motivated me. And as I went on through high school, the same thing, those coaches, and actually those coaches are still in my lives to this day, because they have been so impactful. And, so I just love, to me, is really being able to give back to kids and give them the opportunity to live their dream just like I lived mine. So, my whole goal is to, help them any kind of way that I can to help them live their dream.
Hey, Darrin, speaking of those old coaches, you got to be kind of chuckling at those guys because they had you playing O-line.
Yeah.
What the hell?
It was a situation where, the coaches don't know you. You're coming off of JV. You got your name on your helmet. And I was always competitive, so I always did everything good. And we happened to be doing a blocking drill, and I just blocked the guy real good. And so they were like, "Yeah, man, you'll be a good lineman." I'm like, "Wait, coach, don't." I'm a linebacker. Now, we'll get to that, but right now we need you on the offense. So it was one of those situations where I said, "Okay, when I move up from JV, I'll just go ahead and I'll go to linebacker." But by the time I got to varsity, the JV coach already told the varsity coach, "Hey, man, good lineman, man." So, man, you know how it was. They eventually let me get an opportunity to play linebacker, and it was one of them games where it was just meant to be. I showed out, and they finally put me at linebacker, but they kept me on the offensive line too. So I played both ways. So
hey, all I remember was reading your bio when you got to school, because you want to know who you're coming in with, and I'm like, when I saw you, I'm like, this dude play O-line. And then I saw you run. I said, "Oh, but he can play linebacker too."
Yeah, didn't have a big line, so I was a little different. But I was wearing number 63 playing linebacker, Gary. I was looking like Willie Lanier, so I was looking.
I remember.
So let me ask you this, and before we start talking about the Canes, I just want to know, because you won 2 national championships, but you also won 2 world championships. Was it a different feeling on? I mean, they're all, you wake up the next morning and know you're the best, but was it different?
Wow. I mean, that Super Bowl is a world thing. It just shocked me because, in particular, I think being on a team like the Dallas Cowboys at that time, the reporters were from Japan and Germany and England. And I mean, they were from all over the world. And, the fact that they would even want to talk to me, I was just happy to be there, LT. I was the residue, you know what I mean? They couldn't talk to Mike Irvin and Troy Aikman and, all those great players. We had so many great players, man. Even the little guys was getting something, you know what I mean? But so it was just a different, it was a world stage. It was different. It was great. The national championship, don't get me wrong. And actually, when I look at it, man, the national championships probably personally were greater because, I did it with my brothers. Like in the NFL, you know how it is, man. It's, it's business. It's business. So it's a little bit different around guys all the time, you know, playing video games, putting your per diem money together on the to get some sub connection or something like that. So it was a little different than when you're in the NFL. Everybody goes home, you got family, it's your job. And so just I think, you know, winning the national championships, all, you know, they were special, even though the Super Bowls were a bigger stage.
So when you watch the Hurricanes this year, your position, the linebackers, what do you see? What do you see from the linebackers so far?
I see some great play, and I'll be honest with you, man. You know, we talk about, like, you know, like Michael Barrow, Jesse Armstead, and myself. We talk about the Bermuda Triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Special thing, but we weren't up without Russell Maryland and Cortez Kennedy and Kevin Patrick and Darren Crine and Shane Curry and Russell Maryland. I mean, we had some monsters up front, and that's what I'm seeing right now. I'm seeing some monsters up front at Miami right now. When I look at that D line that we have right now, it's giving those guys an opportunity to play. So Besant, with his talent and his ability, he's able to just do his thing now. You know, I love the middle linebacker. He's playing great as well. And I'm forgetting the young man. I think he's number 23 or 24, but he's playing some good ball too. You know, the linebackers are running around, but it's the D allowing them to play freely right now.
You know, you mentioned Kiko Manoa, the middle linebacker, and you know, I watched him play. You know, if you're just talking to him, and you know, he just seems like a normal kid. You know, isn't like overly imposing physically or anything like that, like his brother is. Man, you put a football uniform on this kid and put him out on the field. He
gets out there on that field. You could tell who's leading that. You could tell who's leading that group, and he's definitely the one.
Yeah, he's an explosive dude. I mean, and then Wesley has taken his game to a whole nother level. Darrin, you know, he's bigger, stronger now. But more than anything, he knows what he's doing.
I think that's the biggest thing that I've noticed. I think he's just so comfortable with the scheme. I think that the coaches are doing a great job in training him and preparing him. You could tell he's confident when he plays. A little bit more confident. You know, like when you come in as a young guy, you're playing, the main thing, you don't want to make mistakes. But now you can see that he's a veteran. He's used to being out there. He's seeing things, you know, like when he made that play early in the game a couple of weeks ago, I knew that's the type of thing where his confidence is up, and he's just ready to make plays right now.
Well, I see up here, he's been coming out to some of those Chaminade practices. He's got his eye on you, Darrin.
No, that's funny that Darrin said that. The story you were telling about you playing offensive line in Pop Warner, I have the same exact story. So when my first year playing football, I was so eager to play, and I was like, man, I just want to see the field. I was wearing number 10, and then one day they're like, anybody can snap a ball. I was like, I can. So I was playing center my first year. I loved it. I was wearing number 10, playing linebacker too. And I found a funny picture too. I want to show you. This is my next year, if you can see. I had number 62. I had my arm pads on the offensive line. I was like, man, I'm 100 pounds soaking wet with 2 bricks in my pocket, but put me in the trenches. But yeah, it kind of leads to a question I want to ask you. Coming kind of with the Wesley thing, I asked Coach Cristobal. He said it really started to click for him. For you, going from, you played at Miami Norland, correct?
Yes.
Kind of going from Miami Norland to University of Miami. What was kind of that moment where it really clicked for you? Like, all right, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where I belong. Kind of similar to Wesley when he had that big interception. Just kind of what was your like, I'm here moment?
Wow, that's a great question.
Good question.
Been coming to Miami from Norland. I think the best thing that happened to me was a guy named Randy Shannon. You know, he was there for me, and he came from Norland. And actually, while I was at Norland, I used to get the comparisons a lot. Like, man, you are a lot like Randy Shannon. You're like, you know, like you're a coach on the field. So I knew Randy because he played actually with my older brother. So we actually grew up in the same neighborhood. We both played the same little league at Scott Lake, but he was with the big guys and I was with the little guys. So I've known Randy for a long time. And so when I saw Randy being successful, you know, I felt a little more confident, you know, when I went to Miami. But then when I got there and I saw Michael Barrow, but then I saw Tiger Clark and Mark Crum and Greg Newbill and this guy named Nate Watson. Them guys were huge, man.
Nate was, for sure.
8, man, I was like, I got some work. Nate and Tiger,
Yeah.
Tiger. So I like, man, I got my work cut out for me. But it was when I got the opportunity to play against Florida State. And, I just got some little spot duty that I was fast. So they would put me in just kind of to run some blitzes. And once I started doing that, man, I felt like, man, I'm out here. I'm looking at this helmet. Like I'm looking at Florida State helmet. Like I can't believe I'm actually out here on this field. But, I think the greatest moment I had when I ran through that smoke, man, it was just like a true because I was a little boy. The first college game I ever went to, my brother took me to, it was the 83 championship with Miami and Nebraska. Wow. And home and on, man, I bled orange and green. So for me, it was like a dream come true when I finally ran through that smoke.
In 88 against Florida State.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll never forget it either.
With all our towels, we was on the bench, throwing our towels up, waving them, going crazy. You know what I'm saying? But we knew.
Rubbing dirt on our legs, making it look like we played.
Hey, we had a good warm up though, right?
boy, I broke a sweat in warm ups. Boy, I was diving for pass. I think I dislocated my shoulder in warm up. but it was. I can tell you this, Darrin. I can tell you this. When we played at the University of Houston, I was laughing so hard because before the game, those guys, I was looking at their receivers and I was like, they have no idea what they're in store for. And so they come out there 4 wide, they're saying we ain't changing.
Mm-hmm.
Darrin Smith is lining up on the receiver. Jesse Armstead is lining up on receiver. And Michael Barr has a super back.
Yep.
And they after the game, talking to those guys many years later, they're like, man, we were taken out the game by the linebackers. When we saw them covering us, trying to cover us as receivers and doing a good job, we said there's no way we can win. And I tell you this, from practicing against you guys, and you and Jesse and Mike, the Bermuda Triangle, I mean, obviously I stayed away from Mike, even though he was my roommate. He didn't count that in practice. And you were so fast that I didn't want to go against you inside because I didn't want to be embarrassed. And I ain't like going against Jesse because he was too rough. He tried to put his hands on you too much. So I kind of just stayed away from y'all and let them other inside guys handle that. But I knew when I saw you run in practice, I said, man, that dude's going to be special. Because remember, we had Crum, and Crum was a leader on the field, very smart. And you were the same way, but you were so much faster.
Mm-hmm.
That was the thing that separated you. Like, you ain't going to outrun. You're going to get to the plate. You're going to be the first one to the ball all the time. And it was just, I said, man, that dude's going to be special. As long as he don't hurt me in practice.
LT, man, I think the greatest thing was with our defense was actually the simplicity of it. Mm-hmm. It was a defense that allowed guys to just use their talent. And like, I think Jimmy did a great job in the way that he recruited guys. He built it that way. And it was all about guys that could run. Everybody knows his formula was to take a DB and to make him a linebacker, to take a linebacker from high school, make him a DN. Because that gave you the elite speed, but also guys who were physical enough. Like when we played Houston, the main thing, when we watched film, we were like, nobody's touching them. Mm-hmm. Everybody's letting them run. And so what better to have a linebacker touch them who could also hit them, you know what I mean? And so once we got our hands on them and once Mike just started pounding that super back, they were ready. They were done. It was over. They were ready to go. They was ready to cancel Christmas. And you know what, man? I appreciate the love, but the way y'all attacked them boys too, man, y'all really y'all the posse was killing them that night too. And so they weren't used to, as fast as Houston thought they weren't used to the speed that was on the field that night.
Just so you know, America, whoever listening, it was a great party that night. I can't tell you where it was because I probably don't remember, but I just know we partied like rock stars that night. We had the whole city of Miami behind us, and it was a beautiful setting. Kind of like this team right here can be because unfortunately, the Dolphins had an injury and they lost a game, and you know how South Florida is. They go with winners. If the University of Miami can continue, they could be the next us, right?
We were the show, man. We owned the city. We owned the city at that time. So they actually could, man. Miami loves winners, and I can really see Mario really setting that path back to the way it used to be. I really can see it.
All right, so Smitty, let me ask you. This week is a little bit of a different challenge for the defense. Last year, when they played tempo in the North Carolina game, they weren't really ready for it. And I don't know if you remember that game, but North Carolina really gave them a lot of problems in the second half and won the game because of the way they were able to exploit Miami's lack of preparedness for an up-tempo offense. Well, they're not going to be unprepared this time around, okay? South Florida goes super high tempo. They run plays at a very high speed. They got a quarterback that can run the ball himself, throw the ball. They can present problems if you let them. And what I want to ask you is, how difficult is it when a team can play at that type of speed? And during the week, how hard do you have to prepare to make sure that you can get your signals in, which they were not able to do last year? They had problems getting signals in time, and there was a lot of confusion. How do they correct that here going into this game this week?
Well, G, I tell you, there's nothing like experience. You know, when you go through it, you see the problem you have, man. You focus on that. How do we correct that? I'm sure they're going to have simple hand signals, simple signals to touch their face mask. You know, just simple stuff where that just is going to be nice and quick, so that because the main thing when you're facing an up-tempo team is everybody got to be on the same page. Because the up-tempo team, what it really do is sometimes it creates a panic. Mm-hmm. And defenses start overthinking, and everybody's not on the same page. And the thing about communication, so if they can get one guy to be doing the wrong coverage, to doing the wrong thing, the offense is going to win. And that's the whole purpose of it, and not to allow you to substitute. That's going to be another thing too. Earlier, I heard Lamar talking about the depth. That's going to be a big issue. You know, depth is going to be big because, hey, at the end of the day, when you face an up-tempo team, you're going to get tired. Your starter's going to get tired. Somebody's going to have to be able to come in, step in, and not have any drop-off, and be able to communicate just as well as the starter, and make the same plays as the starter. So the biggest thing they're going to probably do is really have simple hand signals, which allow them to communicate quicker and more efficiently.
Hey, Darrin, I got a question. You're a defensive guy. When teams go quicker, go fast and up tempo like that, you can't really draw up your elaborate blitzes. So you have to be kind of basic, right? And guys have to really be at home and know exactly what their jobs are, correct?
Exactly. Only way that you can get that, it'll have to be a formation that you prepared for, you know, during the week. Hey, whenever they give us this formation, this the blitz go to. And for that, you got to have a smart team, and then again, everybody has to be on the same page again. And so that requires coaching, which I think we have a good group of coaches this year as well. I really see the guys being prepared, you know, for all the things. And I think the maturity of some of the players has helped this year as well. But you're exactly right, Lamar. It just throws you off. You know, it knocks you off balance. Defenses just start, you know, looking around and panicking. Oh, what are we gonna do? And then it starts getting mental. Oh, I'm feeling tired. I can't go another play. And then, you know, and the offensive line is out there doing the same amount of work you're doing, but they just mentally they're more prepared for it. And I think that's a big part of the game.
Let's bring this topic in for both you guys. You know, last night on a show we have Darrin, CaneSport Live. You've been on that show. We were talking a little bit about preparing for what's ahead. And, you know, the schedule's not imposing this year. We don't know which of these teams is going to be able to rise up and give Miami competition. But I've been saying that I think it's really important that they get competition and that they are challenged here along the way, because when you go and you have to start playing a Texas or a Georgia or a Tennessee or one of these teams that's looking really good here in college football, and this is a really good year, I think, for college football. There's a lot of really good teams from what we can tell at this point of the season. How important do you guys think the level of competition that this team plays, how significant is it in getting them ready for the big games that might come down the road?
Go ahead, Darrin.
Well, it's very important. You know, even, you know, like I mentioned, I'm coaching at the high school level. our head coach at Chaminade, his whole
Damon Jones.
coach goal is to schedule as hard as possible. We'll always national team. This year we played St. John Bosco out of California. Last year we played Virgin Catholic out of New Jersey. We also played the team out of Maryland. We played teams in Georgia. So he always looks for hardest competition. We play American Heritage. We play St. Thomas Aquinas. When you play those type of teams, and honestly, I really believe he doesn't necessarily care if we win or lose those games all the time, but he wants to prepare you for down the road. And that's why he kind of, some of our schedules like gauntlets, five in a row, you know what I mean? Where it's just hard teams. But you look at the end of the season and you have prepared guys, and they done been through the tough situations. They done faced the hard games. And so I think that's very important mentally. You know what I mean? When you play, when you like the competition, you can get overconfident. And so when a team like Texas shows up, that, well, you feel like, well, we'll handle them. We've handled everybody else, and they smack you in the mouth. You know what I mean? So sometimes you need to get punched in the mouth a little bit to kind of wake you up, and it forces you to prepare for each team harder, and to prepare for each team the same. And so, I'm looking forward. I was glad actually that they started out with a team like Florida. And I know Lamar was as well.
Yes, I was.
So, because one thing, okay, maybe they aren't the way they used to be, but they got talent. And so, you're facing that type of talent is always good as far as forcing your preparation. So down the line, when you face it, that same type of talent, those talented teams, and maybe even more talented teams, you'll know.
Speaking of talent, and Damon Jones, you guys got a bunch of players over there. Woo! Y'all got it. So I know you are pushing them towards Miami. You better be. I know you can't, but I get it. I don't want to say it too loud, but you guys got so much talent over there.
It is, man. I was excited that Zaquan Patterson went. I ain't gonna say nothing.
Jeremiah Smith broke our heart, man. Boy, is he is balling out at Ohio State.
Everything I thought.
I saw it every day in practice, and I was like, Lord, please praying for him, so.
Well, seriously, when you watch a guy like that in practice, you got to say, Jesus.
Coach, I'll be honest with you. I feel like we got some pretty good DBs. We got Chris Ewald that's committed to UM, and we had Zaquan last year who committed to Miami, and literally, man, we had to build those guys' confidence up after practice. We would have to, hey, man, hey, look, that's JJ. You know what I mean? Because when you face somebody like him and the things he was doing in practice, it was like, wow. Just look around and say, hey, this dude is different, man. We got something. So
kind of like what you were doing for Ryan McNeil.
Yeah. Posse, huh? You ain't gonna face that every week.
What do you think of how JoJo Trader's career and Zaquan have started at Miami?
I'm excited, man. See those guys out there. Mentally, I think they're putting the work in. I always knew physically, like a player like Zaquan, he was kind of a freak anyway.
Yeah.
So physically he had it. But just the way I'm seeing them step up mentally and focusing, our whole goal, at the school is actually to prepare those kids for college, academically as well as on the football side. So we kind of push them. We try to do a lot of things that colleges do at our high school, and we require a lot of them. Being able to read coverages, understanding routes, understanding route combinations, knowing the, in particular numbers, who are the best players, what formations that what we expect out of it. Stuff I wish I did in high school. We kind of push those guys to it, and I think it helps them when they go to these schools to excel and be prepared.
Yeah.
Well, Darrin, I got to tell you something, man. Do me a favor. When you talk to your head coach, Damon Jones, tell him now, since I ain't a coach, I can take him to eat now. So tell him I owe him dinner or two.
want you to go to Blue Ginger or something like that. That's the spot.
Well, hey man, we definitely appreciate you being on the show tonight, man. You I can't say it enough. But one of the nicest guys. You helped me tremendously. I went to New Orleans a couple of times with you, rode around with you. I mean, you just took all the guys up under your wing, showed us around Miami, and I definitely appreciate that, man. And you always been a stand-up guy with me. I think, didn't we have a show together? I got that CTE. I think we had a show together at one point, didn't we?
We used to do the post-game stuff together.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It was rough. It was them some rough years, though, LT.
That's probably why I tried to forget about it. I think Gary had to talk me off the ledge a couple of times.
There's no doubt.
Well, we had to do the post game after that Florida State blow. Oh my goodness, it was ugly. It was ugly. And you always. I always appreciate you guys. I love having you on. Gary, you helped me out a lot, man. You helped me to be more of a realistic fan. You know what I mean? I always would talk to you, and you just would be like, I don't know, Darrin. Like, come on, Gary. But no, I appreciate you guys, and young man, keep up that good work. Thank you.
It's a little different now. It's a little different this year than it's been.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. You encouraging me, man. So because I know you keep it real. So when I hear you pop, I'm like, okay, I feel better.
Yeah,
we ain't all sweet nasty. We don't say 13-0 every damn year. Like what game you watching, bro?
I know, right?
Much love, man. Thank you for coming on the show, brother.
Darrin, great seeing you, man. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
One of the most awesome guys you'll ever meet, man. I'll tell you, that guy is special, dude.
He's just a good dude, man. To be his teammate, it was just awesome. Every time I think of him getting an interception, getting in that Texas game, and high stepping in the end zone, just an excellent football player, but an even better person.
Even better person. Yeah. No doubt about it. All right, LT, let's go to some of the fans' questions that have been being posted. And feel free now. We're gonna take the show in that direction. So if you got questions or topics you want us to address, go ahead and post them in the chat that's going on the right side of your screen. But let's start with Pinellas Kane. He says, LT, you played with some special quarterbacks in your career. What do you see in Cam Ward? And is he the most talented quarterback to ever play for the Canes? Wow, that's saying a lot.
Well, I can tell you this. He's the most special guy we've seen in a while. And I think we had some very special guys years ago. The game was different, but he definitely is a very talented player. The great thing about him, I truly believe, is that he played on such bad teams that now being on a good team is taking him, who he is, to another level, because he's already played on the team where he was running for his life to try to pass the ball, and now he doesn't have to really truly run for his life. He can chill out back there like he did against Florida, look at his watch, look in the stands, maybe eat a sandwich, get some pickle juice, and then throw the ball. So he's a very talented guy. Obviously I played with some guys. Craig Harrison was very talented. Fortunately, he had an injury. Gino was talented. But he's a very special guy, up there with the best of them. If he can continue to stay on this level and take us to a championship or even somewhere near there, he will be mentioned as one of the best to play here. I believe that.
Dolphin Derek wants to hear what Gino has to say about that. So he wants to know when you're going to bring Gino on the show.
Yeah, we're going to bring old Gino on. I thought you guys would be tired of hearing from Gino, but we'll bring that big head monster on. We'll bring him on the show.
Pinellas Kane has noticed that Kobi George looks very locked in mentally and physically this year. Let me start this one with you. I mean, we've covered Kobi pretty closely, and you really can see a difference in him this year from the past, and it needed to be this way. He was hurting this football team last year with some of his, selfish mistakes and that he was making on game day and the 15-yard penalties he was drawing. He really is very locked in this year.
No, 100%. Like you mentioned, in that Rutgers Bowl game, he got, I think it was either 1 or 2 personal fouls or, fouls that could have easily been avoided. And then in the Florida game, like I said, I saw him. He literally got punched in the face by a guy from UF and just went like this. I still got this red bandana on my hand. He went like this. And then I saw it another time, and S. Cooper was chirping somebody. Kobi George pulls him back. I'm like, wow, is this the same number 3? Like, lift up your helmet. Is that really you, Kobi? It's just awesome to see that. And you can kind of, slowly see it. I think you mentioned, last spring when Coach Kevin Beard came here, how big of a role he's playing, in his development as a player. Coach Kevin Beard played at Plantation, the same high school Kobi George went to. The guy that actually mentored Kobi George was mentored by Kevin Beard. So just a lot of connections there, a lot of familiarity. And I feel like that really helps the guy. When somebody's talking to you, they know where you've been. They know what, shoes you walk and all that good. So I think Kevin Beard's playing a huge role in that development. And you're really, really seeing it. Last year, I think we saw him take a few steps, but he's taking leaps and jumps this year. And it's really paying off for him. I think and going to pay off for him in the long run too.
LT, nobody was more flamboyant than you on a football field. I mean, just saying. I mean, you didn't have that Randall Hill moment. You didn't have that Randall Hill moment where he ran up the tunnel, but you had plenty of other moments. And how hard is it to control your behavior on a football field? When you're asked to rein it in. I know Dennis probably never asked you to rein it in, but like, how hard is it to change your way of being on a football field when you're out there competing as a football player?
Well, I always tell people the rules were different. Obviously, if I'd have known it was going to hurt our team, then I probably wouldn't have done it, because we policed each other, and we would have said, hey, cut it out, But, as a coach, trying to tell kids not to celebrate, it's and they kind of look at me like, hey, man, didn't I just see you on the 30 for 30? Like, I know, don't do as I did, do as I say, please. And just saying that, trying to convince them that, you're going to hurt the team by being, extra, but I got to give it to the refs this year. They are letting guys get away with some things. And that brings up, I'm glad you brought that up. And I need to ask you this, IC, what is this? When they do this, what is that?
So he said, I asked him like 2 weeks ago, he said he got it from his old offensive coordinator at UIW. And he said the offensive coordinator got it for some guy from Western Kentucky. So it's just been like something passed around. And then he said he started doing it at Washington, and then all the defense would get mad and they started doing it to him. And then he just says it's something that's been passed down to him, but he's trying to blow it up. And, there's high school kids hitting that. Last week, Malachi Tony scored a touchdown. He started hitting it. I asked him about it. He's like, man, Cam's just a gangster, so I just did it too. I was like, all right, that's awesome.
I noticed that in the game, they scored. They do like this. I didn't know what was going on. I don't know. Like, they're saying back up, or I don't know. So I'm glad that somebody younger than me that didn't have gray explained that to me, because and like anything, these kids in little league, high school will follow. I mean, I had many young men who now are old men who come up to me and say, man, you got me in so much trouble in high school because I had my jersey all the way up here and I had 8 towels on, and every time I touched the ball, I took my helmet off. That wasn't my goal. I was just enjoying myself and having fun. And it looks like that's what the refs are kind of letting these kids play this now. And they do, because the NFL is kind of lax their deal on it. So it's good to watch. Obviously, again, when it starts hurting the team and it puts you in a situation where you backed up kicking the ball off, or you have to kick the extra point from 35 yards, all that, then it needs to stop. So yeah, it's very interesting to watch how these kids celebrate. I'm glad you answered that for me. Thank you so much.
Keeping the show young for sure.
Well, as Rocky's pointing out here, AJ Allen is a kid that certainly has had reason to celebrate the way he's been playing, and I'm going to ask you this, Lamar. He gets to come in the fourth quarter of a blowout game.
Mm-hmm.
And now he wants to be in earlier. He's a competitive kid. He came here in the transfer portal. He's doing nothing wrong. I mean, a kid has a lot of ability. When they needed him last year, he performed. He's performing this year. He's just got some studs around him, and everybody deserves to play. And but when you play the way AJ Allen did in the fourth quarter against Ball State, does that earn you something this week against South Florida?
I think it does. I think what it earns you is a spot to play. When the time comes. I mean, in crucial times. I mean, he showed that he does have something. So in a game like this, there might be an opportunity to see what he can do. And when guys come in and they do a job like that, it's the 3s and 4s, and you see that 3 and 4, you're going, damn. You got to put them in. And that's making 1 and 2 go. Hold on now. I got to stay up. I got to step up. I got to, for our 1 and 2 running back, Mark Fletcher and what's his name? Number I got that CT. What was that kid name?
Jordan Lyles.
Yeah. No. Who'd you say?
Damian Martinez?
Martinez, yes.
Yeah.
And again, I got to tell you guys, okay, for us older people, here, we know players from years of them putting in work. So when the guy just gets here, I don't know their name right off the rip until they start putting in some work. Then I'll know their name. So if I start calling guys by numbers, I don't know their name yet. So please forgive me. But if they put in work, I'll get to know their name. But Damian. So once those guys, they know they got to step up because they know a guy like AJ Allen can come in at any time. That's a luxury to have, man.
The fans are arguing. Pinellas Kane says that AJ Allen's running back with the best vision. Studio One Live says he looks like Clinton Portis with power and speed.
All that.
I don't know which one it is, but then we got my man Rocky summing it all up by saying, Lamar, it is nice seeing the Canes being the Canes again. And there's a lot of truth to that. The Canes are starting to look what a Miami team is supposed to look like. And I saw Don Solinger. I see that's the old school running backs coach, in case you didn't know. But I saw Don Solinger after he was out at the scrimmages, and he coached the greatest running backs to ever wear a Miami uniform. But if you ask him right now, he will tell you that this running backs room is every bit as good as the best running backs rooms that he had. And he thinks these young kids are going to be Clinton Portis and Edgerrin James and Willis McGahee level type players before they're done. And I thought that was the ultimate compliment. And that is Miami being Miami again.
Well, the only sad part about that is that that there'll be calls to those kids, or maybe their parents, or maybe their uncles trying to poach them. Say, I know you only got to play a couple plays. You can come here and play the whole game. And, it's going to be interesting to see how we're able to, with that support staff, keep all these kids, or at least keep a large number of them happy, because we could go deep this year. Who says that's going to be the same team that comes back? So, enjoy it while it lasts, and hopefully we can have some of those guys, that same type of depth, come back at that running back position, because it is a lot of depth in there. It's some special players in that running back room right now.
And the byproduct is, you want the ball, you better make the most of every single opportunity, or you don't play. Well, AJ Allen made the most of every single opportunity last week, and we're going to find out on Saturday night what that means for him. Do you reduce the load that Mark Fletcher takes, for example, to give AJ Allen more carries? And how's Mark Fletcher going to react to that? Like, these are all subplots that are just amazing, that we're sitting here having these conversations after all these years of
mediocre ball.
Yeah, I mean, not Izubee. I see. You're a young guy. You're the age of, basically of these kids. Like, how are they going to handle all this? Like, you want this competition, but there's other things you want too.
Yeah, I feel like this goes back to what type of guys you're recruiting. Like, do you want to face a competition, or are you going to duck, hide, and then hop in the transfer portal when something doesn't go your way? And I feel like AJ Allen's kind of doing a great job of embracing. Hey, I might not get a lot of opportunities, but when I do get my opportunity, man, I'm going to make the best of my time on the field. And Coach Shannon Johnson kind of said it. He was like, hey, the week before, Chris Johnson got 3 touches scored on him. We got to give him the ball more. We got to give him more touches. He gets, I think, 1 or 2 more touches, scores a touchdown. Kind of said the same thing about AJ Allen this week. He said, hey, that kid's earning his time on the field, and it's hard, not to keep the ball out of his hands when every time he comes in, he's breaking a 40-yard run, a 50-yard run for a touchdown. So if I'm Matt Mayer, I'm just in that running back room, like, who am I going to throw out there now? And they have confidence in each, 1 through 5 of those guys to make a play happen. So I think it's a good problem to have. Like I said, I think it goes back to what type of guys you're recruiting. Are you recruiting guys that want to compete, that want to make each other better? Are you recruiting a guy that's, me, give me the ball, all that good stuff. So,
Gary, it kind of reminds me of, Gary, it really reminds me of when you, back in the day, when you meet a nice looking girl at the club and you tell her to come back to the football dorm the next day, and before she even gets to your room, she has 20 phone numbers.
That is what it's like,
man.
That is what it's like. AJ's got a nice mom too, by the way. I met her in Gainesville, very nice lady, and I'm glad he's performing well because I know he's making her happy, and she deserves to be happy. And so it's all good there. All right, so along these same lines, Roy P. Remember, we're going to be in at least 13 games. He's assuming the ACC championship game, and then you go into the playoff, and it could be at least 15 games. If you go all the way, I think you play 16. So we're talking about all these guys, wanting opportunities, needing opportunities, counting on opportunities. It would help a lot if we could get the 15, 16 games, because then there will be plenty of time for different guys to shine.
Well, it's, I tell guys this all the time, and I talk to those guys. Remember, it's a long season. Your job is to be ready when your numbers call. If you're not ready when your numbers call because you're complaining, sitting over there sulking, you're definitely going to ruin your opportunity and your chance, because you got to be ready. You got to stay with a good, positive mind when you come out here on this practice field, try to get better. And when you get your opportunities to make plays in practice, you make them. And when you do get those opportunities in the game to make your plays, you make them. And it's a long season. It's like going from, for a rookie myself, going to the NFL and being in game 8 going, God dang, we still got 8 more games to go. Yeah. It's a long season. This is truly going to be a long season if we're able to continue that climb, but I love reading some of the readers' comments, some of the viewers' comments on, there's a lot of tough teams we got to play. Syracuse is out there, Georgia Tech, you got Louisville, Cal, you and Florida State is going to be, they're going to be keen in to try to knock us off the perch, just like we were last year, keen in to try to knock them off the perch. So it's going to be a very interesting year, but I think depth and playing smart ball will conquer all. If we don't play smart ball and depth goes away, then it'll be the same old deal.
Along those lines, we've been talking a little bit about, South Florida, the up-tempo offense. So we haven't talked a lot about Miami's defensive line, which has really taken a step forward this year. And they're showing they have a little depth there too, which, could come in handy this week. And one of the young guys who I've noticed that's starting to develop a little bit, we talk about player development all the time, the young players versus going to the portal. And I see Jesus McNeil here has noticed them as well. And that's number 24, Malik Bryant, defensive end. Now, he's playing behind some monsters, man. You got this Tyler Barron kid that came in. He's better than Ruben Bain. We think Ruben Bain, and Ruben Bain was freshman of the year last year, the whole thing. Tyler Barron is a grown man out there. Ruben Bain's still a young guy. And, this guy is very motivated, obviously, and is playing like a man possessed out there. And if he keeps it up, he's going to be threatening the sack record at Miami. What's he got IC now? I think like 5 or so.
I think he's up to 4.5 or 5. Yeah.
Yeah. He's really doing well. And I think the record is still 18, if I'm not mistaken. So he's looking like he can challenge there. And the depth. But Malik Bryant is a young guy trying, not so different than AJ Allen. I mean, he's trying to work himself into some playing time here, but he has flashed a little bit to the point where Jesus McNeil's noticing him. Lamar, you and I are noticing him. Even Dolphin Derrick threw his name out there all simultaneously. So people are taking notice of Malik Bryant, and as an extension, the depth that Miami's building on that D line. McConaughey. There's others.
And you know what? We're going to need it this weekend. I truly believe we're going to need all those guys to play. And those guys on the second team, maybe third team, are going to come in, and it's not going to be a fall off because, obviously, just like we've talked about this whole show, they want to tire you out. They want to keep you on that field. And so at the first dead ball, you got to put new guys in there. And, to have 4 fresh guys go in there that are pretty damn good is a blessing. And let me tell you that's not what they expect. They expect for you to get to that second tier and be able to, find some holes. But if you got 2, 3 deep, it ain't working. So that's what I'm expecting out of this D line. I mean, they're well coached. Jason and Salivera. Is that how to pronounce his name?
Joe Salivera.
Yeah, I'll mess it up. So I got to give him a nickname too. But those guys do an awesome job. And watching them compete today. Oh man, you got the big kid number 9. He's yelling at the quarterback, and they're going back and forth. And the 2-minute drill, it brought chills because it brought back the times of the old where we were going at it. Where I'm talking to Michael Barr and Darrin Smith, and we're going back and forth, and we're trying to get it done, and we're making each other better, and we're getting to Saturday, and it's so easier. It's so much easier because of what we went through on that practice field.
They got your interest, LT. They got your interest. They got you driving down there every week.
Yeah. I'm enjoying watching them, man. This is awesome to watch. I tell you though, just talking to those guys, I didn't think I would miss the bug as much as I do, but being able to talk to them and just tell them what I see, and the kids are listening, and Beard and those guys are encouraging, to say things. It makes me feel good. That bug, man, that coaching bug, it's contagious, man. It's truly contagious.
So as a continuation of what we've been talking about, Kane for Life points out that he's concerned about containment on defense, especially against this talented dual quarterback that Miami is going to face this weekend. How big of a deal do you see that, Lamar?
Well, that's one of the things when you watch games. I always say, how did he lose contain? Selfishness. You're not doing your job. The defense is set up where you have to. You have to go outside, you got to go outside. Guys get out of their lanes. They lose their lane integrity by going inside trying to get a sack because they see the guy overplaying and forces big plays. But I'm pretty sure that Jason, he was the master of the speed rush. He has those guys, and I watched him in practice. He's pretty intense. He's sweating. And for all you ladies out there, if you could see him sweat, you probably woo, because he woo. But anyway, he has those guys. He's going to keep them doing the right thing. And hopefully, against a quarterback like this, you keep him in the pocket. So those 2 guys in the middle, or if you blitz, they run right into him because they're forced to step up. And there's nowhere for them to go except into those 2 guys. So
Chris Gons wants to know, is Mario bringing the speed back into Miami? He thinks back to the teams that you played on, Lamar, and the hallmark of speed at every position. Are you seeing that from this Mario Cristobal team?
I am. I'm seeing some great athletes, and that's important. But don't put my name in there. I wasn't a speed guy. I was a jumper. But those other guys were speed guys. They got some great athletes, and when you got guys that can pick them up and put them down. You got Restrepo, who's not the fastest guy, but he's a great route runner. And you got tight ends that look like they're pulling away from people. And that number 9, who looks like a butterball, who's moving down the field. I mean, that's you need playmakers like that, man. I'm very excited about this team, man. I can remember doing this show couple years ago, sitting in what was the name? Bo Campus, eating those wings, and
where it was so loud that we couldn't hear you.
Yeah, you couldn't hear me. I had to
And
drink.
you're getting all sloppy with those chicken wings, and your mom was all mad at you.
Hey man, I had to drink on that thing because it wasn't a good. They weren't good teams, man. They weren't good teams. There was always something wrong. It was they weren't being pushed. And you got the right guy pushing right now. It's like the push tush. Mario is the push tush guy. He's pushing all the buttons on those guys, and we're seeing the fruits of this whole recruiting and what they've been able to bring in there and putting this team together.
I see. If we put you in a restaurant right now and you were sitting there eating messy wings and there might have even been a few ribs thrown in there or something along the way, and what would your mom be telling you?
Oh, she'd be killing me, man. She'd be turn off the camera and get your ass back inside, and a boatload of other things I can't say on this show right now. But I don't think I wouldn't be able to
everybody watch you slop it up.
A couple of vodka cranberries sliding up in there too.
Yeah, count me out. By that time, man, I'd have been show's over. Wrap it up.
Hey man, it was so bad, man. You just had to, because there was some bad ball going on at that time. It was awful. And the whole show was around from week 2. When we gonna fire the coach? Come on, man.
And I'd be sitting saying, we got to get Mario here. We got to get Mario here.
Man, I mean, that's just bad time, man. That was some awful times, especially when you start. It's like Florida's going through right now. You can't even make it through 2 games in the season. They're already talking about, we got to get rid of this guy. And that's not fun to be trying to talk about football, but everybody wants to talk about firing a coach.
They're doing the same thing in Trailer Hassey. I spoke to a few people up there today. Like they know that Norvell's not getting fired. He just won 12 games last year, but they're talking about a coaching staff overhaul at Florida State already after this 0-3 start. Dolphin Derek again, LT. He wants to know who is the LT on this year's team.
Ooh, so let's see here. I would say Restrepo, as far as he's that go-to guy for your quarterback. Quarterback has to have a go-to guy when things get out of whack. A guy that's going to calm everybody down. And I think I was that guy at one point.
And CM 5540, he points out, what else can you say about X? His play and sacrifice, it really shines through on game day. Just the amount of effort he puts into making himself the player that he is.
Well, he has a goal. His goal was to come here and to do well enough to get drafted. And I think he was so disappointed that he felt like he wasn't getting his shine. I told him, I said, how do you get the shine? You go out, you keep your mouth shut, and you just do it. Just do it. And your shine will come. And that's what he's doing. He's making plays. He's making the tough catches. He's being a leader. You watch him with those guys. He's talking, so it is it's great to watch, man, because from when he first got there to watching him now and to see where he's come and where he wants to go, it's a great thing to watch.
I see. I'm going to let you take this one. Okay. Everyone's excited. The fans are excited. The players are excited. The parents are excited. The coaches are excited. There's nobody that's not excited right now. Christopher Wright, he's excited. He wants to bring back the turnover chain. What do you think?
No. I wasn't even a big fan of the real one, because I was like, what's really going on here? Like, I don't know. I feel like if you have something like a turnover chain or anything that you're gloating with, you have to be like the guys, like the baddest MFs walking around. You got to be, you got to be those dudes. And like you see other schools have like the UNLV has like the slot machine, but like it's just like a perfect example. FIU was playing somebody, I think Sam Houston, and they had like a turnover Lambo. And Sam Houston gets a turnover and runs and posts up on their Lamborghini. It's like you're just setting yourself up for trolls and failures. I think, listen, you can play, dominant ball. You can have swag. You don't need all that extra stuff. Some people like the turnover chain. Personally, I've never been a fan of it. I don't think Mario's ever going to bring that. I feel like that was just the bad times and you bring back bad memories. It's like bringing back PTSD, like 4th of July or for dogs or something bad. I don't know, but just leave the turnover chain in 2018, 2019, wherever they had it.
That was Manny's deal. You see, he didn't take it to Duke.
Yeah. They got their turnover notebooks or whatever. Those.
Yeah, I don't know what is he. I didn't even see Duke.
Turnover backpacks, turnover notebooks, turnover astrology books.
I wonder if Manny's doing anything at Duke. I haven't really paid any attention to Duke.
I mean, that was just a gimmick to me. It was fun while it lasted, but it got a little old quick because when you're losing and you do it, that's where it got a little out of hand because now you're turning off the traditional fans. They're saying, "Wait, we're getting our ass beaten. You're over there celebrating because you got an interception. We're getting beat by 50 points." Nah. And that's where it kind of wore itself out. But it was fun in the beginning. But then again, like you said, I see we begin being trolled by everybody. When you start getting your ass beat, and you're not, the chain is not coming out, and the other team's bringing out their turnover fanny packs. It's not a good deal.
Well, Chris says, "Come on, LT, you guys know that was fun."
Just for a little bit.
Fun while you're winning.
Until we start getting our ass beat. That's when it became not fun.
Yeah. All right. This is a couple weeks early, this question, but we're going to be taking a road trip to the West Coast in a couple weeks. Cal's actually facing it in reverse. They had to travel to Tallahassee this weekend. But how did a long road trip, and you could talk about when you were in the NFL too, because you guys took long road trips in the NFL as well. How did that affect your play?
It's different. It's you're playing games and you're just like, what time is it? Your body, your body's off. But we actually went to Cal. We went to Cal. I think we blew him out. Russell White, I think he had a 100-yard kickoff return. But it was different. It was truly different. You're like trying to figure out, your body's trying to figure out what time is it? What's going on here? But you're getting out there, you're noticing the weather's different. It might be hot, but you can breathe. The West Coast to me it's a different place. I didn't mind going over there if we had to go over there and got time, like what we do in the NFL and like Mario's doing now, which is smart. You're going over there a day earlier, so your body can kind of get acclimated a little bit better than getting up in the morning, getting there, playing the game, and then coming back. So I like that. I like what he's doing because that's the NFL's model. We fly over a day early. You kind of stay. With Sam Weiss, when I was with Tampa Bay, he made us go to sleep, a bed check, and it was still light outside. And those veteran guys, boy, they were hot. What the hell? Yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on with Sam, but he also told us we couldn't talk on the phone. But anyway, yeah, he did that because what he was trying to do is have us kind of say, okay, I know we're over here, but your body, it needs to go to sleep regularly. So it was, we still got our ass beat. But anyway.
You like the fact that they're going to travel on Thursday instead of Friday?
I love it. I like it. I think it gives you a better chance.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Pinellas Kane says this team can be special. I hope they achieve greatness. Can this team be special, Lamar?
I think they can. It's going to depend on that O-line. Keeping Cam upright, opening holes for the running backs, giving them time enough to throw to the tight ends and to the receivers. It depends on the O-line. Now, that's on the offensive side. I think on the defensive side, I think our D-line will save us, and those linebackers will continue to play well. Our secondary continues to get better. I love Darryl Porter Jr., man. He is a baller. Like, you don't mess with that guy. I mean, he ain't the tallest guy, but he shows up left and right. I mean, kind of like his daddy. His daddy was the same way. Boston College, playing for the Buffalo Bills, Tennessee Titans, kind of like that. But he's a baller. You can tell that it was passed down to him. So I'm excited about this team, man. It's haven't felt this way in a long time, Gary. I mean, I'm letting the world know too. I'm letting the world know, as you Gator fans found out. I'm letting the world know. Hell, I might need to get on some Ball State fans. Shit.
Question comes in from Canes Cats Heat 305. Stop campaigning for baseball recruiting coverage too, Canes Cat. But he wants to know how important it is for a wide receiver to know how to run block and even pass block.
When you say pass block, you mean like screen pass? Because
that must be what he means.
Well, yeah, you gotta be able to do it. I mean, that's I always when I'm coaching receivers, I always tell them long touchdown runs happen because of us, and long runs happen because of us. And usually a long run happens because we missed the block, but long touchdown runs happen because of us too. So it's important. It's important to know exactly what you're doing, keeping hands inside, not putting them on the outside. Anytime you put the hands on the outside, the referees are going to call it, because when the guy goes to jerk away or go to change direction, your hands will be on the outside and the refs will see it. So you have to be able to teach these guys how to block, because the one thing you don't want to see is a guy break a long screen pass and it's called back because the guy went and tried to grab, had his hands not down by his hips. That's one of my pet peeves. When you go to block, your hands should be already here. Okay, not down here, because the first initial action when they go left or right, you're going to stick your hands out to try to keep them inside, and that's going to be a hole. So it's important, and for a lot of guys, including myself, that's how I got on the field. Even though I was 165 pounds soaking wet, I blocked my ass off as a redshirt freshman. That's the only way I could get on the field.
That's the only way you get on the field.
But I did it. I took the challenge and I ran with it.
All right, so it's that time of night, 9:53. The Canes fans have been watching our show for a couple hours here, probably sipping on some wine or a little vodka or their cocktail of choice. The young ladies watching are probably getting a little frisky now and whatever. So for our final comment of the night, we got Jennifer Miller here. She's loving herself some IC.
He got his own fan club. He got his own fan club, man. That's and to be honest with you, bro, it's refreshing to see, because nobody was saying that about fucking Bruce. Okay, so
no, we didn't have any ladies watching our show. We had Bruce up here with us. Now we're bringing in the young ladies. Izubee, do you know Jennifer?
I do not know Jennifer, but I appreciate you. I love you too, Jennifer.
Oh, that is so sweet.
We can arrange. Maybe. Would you like to know who Jennifer is?
Maybe we should keep it here until we win some more games.
There you go. I love that answer. Good coaching answer, by the way.
Here, I'm going to step in here. CaneSport@yahoo.com. Okay? CaneSport@yahoo.com. Slide into our emails. I will make sure to forward it to IC. You guys take it from there. How about that?
Oh man, this has become Tinder. Bumble.
All right, guys. I see, in all seriousness, South Florida this week. You're coming up there with me. Lamar will be there. It should be an entertaining Saturday night. Parting thoughts on the challenge facing the Canes this week?
I'm excited. Like I said last week, it's kind of weird when I say this. I want to see them face some type of adversity where, they get punched in their mouth or something happens or we have to show some type of fight. These first 3 games, Florida was a little bit something when they had the interception and they're, backed up. But I kind of want to see, something to give me not some hope, but to say, hey, this team is feisty. These guys can fight back. Obviously, I think they're going to handle business, but I do want to see them turn it up a little bit of a notch, and it's going to be against, a little bit better competition. So I'm just excited to see how they do against that and a dynamic quarterback like Brown that USF has.
All right, man. Well, we'll see you over there.
Safe travels. Safe travels, I see. Stay off of Dale Mabry.
I got you.
All right, I see. Jennifer Miller.
Yeah.
How about that? I don't do
first time ever. That's never happened.
Have we ever had a woman comment on this show? Ever?
No, I don't think so.
In all the years that we've been doing it, he's bringing in a whole new demographic.
Yes, he is. That Bruce couldn't touch.
No chance. No chance. All right, let's finish off tonight with a little word association. He was a 2-time national championship winning coach. You were on those teams. Came back for the big 35-year 1989 reunion this past weekend. You got to spend some time with your old mentor, Dennis Erickson.
Love the fact he was able to come back and be around the guys. He's getting older now. He said he wants to come back to Florida State. We said, please come back, coach. It's good to see him, man. It just brings back so many memories. And I always joke with him. I go, damn, coach, I know you're old now, but I thought you were old back then. So he just looks at me and shakes his head and says, freaking Lamar. Freaking Lamar. I love him, man. I mean, those guys, man, he was like a father figure to us. And, just good man. Very good man.
Hell of a football coach too. I wish he had I guess I don't know if it was time for him to go to the NFL, but that's a tricky question that I'm thinking back. But he inherited a really good team, and not everybody can inherit a really good team and make something with it, and he did.
I think recruiting kind of caught up with them.
Yes,
I think recruiting. When we had a very good we had a good team when he got there, and 4 or 5 years later, with maybe those, not saying him, but maybe some of those guys weren't really recruiting the guys that Miami needed to recruit, and it kind of showed. So that's how it happens sometimes.
It's hard to maintain that, man. It's hard to maintain that level of football, and Mario's going to be facing that too. Like, we don't have to worry about next year now, but like you said, this team can be special. Now he's got to do it again next year. Yep. That's easier said than done.
Yep.
All right. USF has a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
He was a walk-on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, worked his way up. Now he's the stud receiver in their offense. Sean Atkins.
Sean Atkins, man, 1,000 yards, first 1,000-yard receiver in school history as a walk-on. He set school records with 92 receptions, and he's 19 receptions away from 153. That's the USF record. I mean, I think I caught 144. So that's a lot of passes, man. That's a lot of passes caught, thrown his way. He's had 16 straight games with 4 catches. I mean, he is a guy that to be reckoned with. He's not the fastest guy, but he's a pretty good route runner, and he catches the ball well. So it's going to be a challenge for our DBs to curtail this kid, and I think we're up for it. I think we put old Darrin Porter Jr. on him just like we did with Wilson III, and he pretty much shut him down. So I'm anxious to see how they play this against this kid.
All right, with this one, we're gonna give you a little blast from the past. It is going to conjure all kinds of memories. I can't wait to hear what you got to say. Tampa.
Ooh, hold on. I had to take a deep breath, man. The big sombrero.
I don't know. Lamar played for the Bucs.
I played for the Yuccaneers. I
went 4 years, 5 years?
3 years. I went from the Miami Hurricanes, we were winning games, and to the Tampa Bay Yuccaneers, where we were losing games. And it was got to know the city very well. It's an interesting city. The Big Sombrero was the stadium. They actually had a mall where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers facility is now. It was actually a pretty good mall, but it's a nice little city. It's I always said it was a city literally in between Ocala, Gainesville, and Miami. And what I meant by that is, it might have been in between, like literally in between, but it also was a city that wanted to be Miami, but it was a small town that was kind of like Ocala, Gainesville. So it was like in the middle of the road. You know what I mean? So it's a quiet little spot. I mean, Tampa has its Busch Gardens. I must have went to that 2,000 times. It's a good little city, man. Clearwater, St. Pete area. I mean, it's all a good little area. So we'll be able to go up there and celebrate. It won't be like Canesville where we had, things shut down early after we won. You can party all night in Tampa. So look forward to a bunch of partying after we kick the Bulls behinds.
And let's finish tonight with Mario Cristobal.
Mario, here it is. This is what you've been waiting on. Continue to make that climb. He preaches discipline. We'll see if they continue to play smart ball. We'll see if they continue to make plays. We'll see if they continue to run the ball effectively and play good, solid defense. This is his calling card, and we'll see. I'm very excited about this game. USF, obviously they think they have a chance. Everybody thinks they have a chance, but until you get, they go ding ding and you get punched in the nose, all that game plan goes out the window. So I'm hoping Miami comes in there right off the rip and punches them in the nose and easy sailing.
All right, LT. Well, we'll hit the road, see what happens. Great show tonight. We got to thank Darrin Smith for joining us, and obviously have to thank Caneswear. You see the address, 2655 South University Drive in Davie, caneswear.com. Head on over there and get all of your, I knew that was coming, all of your Miami Hurricanes merchandise. And if you go there and you're hungry, you got to go to Los Patos too, the best sub shop in South Florida. They will make sure you do not feel hungry after you finish eating. Right next door to Caneswear, so you can knock out at a home game. You can go get your tailgate food and your merchandise all at the same time. It's about 15 minutes from the stadium. So go check out Caneswear if you can, and if you can't get to the store, go to caneswear.com. You will not be sorry. The best destination for all of your Canes merchandise. So we thank all of you as well for joining us tonight and being part. Yeah, that's a great shirt, man. That is a really good one. This is not Florida. I love it. Thank you guys so much for being part of tonight's show. We will be back next week to slice and dice it up and talk about what we see in Tampa this weekend, and then start looking forward from there to the Virginia Tech game, which will be on Friday night.
That's right.
Next week, Friday Night Football.
Wow.
So for Lamar Thomas, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you again, everybody. We will see you next time.
Go Canes.